The night was dark and foreboding as the small town of Villisca lay still under the cold, eerie glow of the moon. The air carried whispers of a chilling tale that had haunted the community for over a century, the gruesome murders that had occurred in the Villisca Axe Murder House in 1912. A place that had once been a quiet family home was now a macabre tourist attraction, drawing those with a morbid curiosity for the supernatural. As the clock struck midnight, a group of thrill-seekers gathered at the entrance of the infamous house. The moonlight cast long shadows across the weathered porch, giving the facade an unsettling appearance. Among the brave souls stood Sarah, a young journalist with a penchant for investigating the unknown. Drawn to the mystery of the unsolved murders, she had convinced a few friends to join her on this unsettling adventure. The group entered the house, guided by flickering candlelight that barely illuminated the dark corridors. The creaking floorboards beneath their feet seemed to echo with the ghostly remnants of the past. Sarah's heart raced as they stepped into the living room, where the murders had taken place. The air felt thick with sorrow, and a cold breeze sent shivers down their spines. The group decided to split up, each member exploring a different part of the house. Sarah, armed with a recorder and camera, ventured upstairs. The wooden staircase groaned under her weight, and a sense of unease settled over her. As she reached the top, she felt a sudden drop in temperature, and her breath formed ghostly clouds in the air. The hallway was dimly lit, and the air seemed to buzz with an otherworldly energy. Sarah cautiously entered one of the bedrooms, where the children had met their tragic end. The room was frozen in time, with antique furniture and faded wallpaper. A haunting silence enveloped her, broken only by the soft footsteps of her companions downstairs. Just as Sarah began to document her findings, a chilling voice whispered her name, a name that echoed through the ages. Startled, she turned, but the room was empty. The oppressive silence returned, and a feeling of dread settled over her like a suffocating blanket. Ignoring the unease, she continued her investigation, determined to capture any evidence of the supernatural. Meanwhile, in another part of the house, Mark, a skeptic in the group, scoffed at the idea of ghosts. He explored the basement, where the darkness seemed to swallow every sound. The air was damp and musty, and the flickering light of his flashlight created eerie shadows on the walls. As he moved deeper into the abyss, a faint sound echoed, a distant, haunting melody that sent shivers down his spine. Mark followed the sound, guided by an unseen force. The melody grew louder, resonating with a sorrowful tune that seemed to echo from the very walls of the house. He stumbled upon an old, dusty piano in a hidden corner of the basement. To his disbelief, the piano keys played themselves, producing the melancholic melody that filled the air. Unable to comprehend the supernatural occurrence, Mark fumbled for his camera, desperate to capture proof of the inexplicable. But as he pressed the record button, the piano abruptly fell silent. The basement plunged into complete darkness, and a cold gust of wind extinguished Mark's flashlight. Panic set in as he fumbled for the stairs, his footsteps echoing through the suffocating darkness. Back upstairs, Sarah continued her exploration, unaware of the eerie events unfolding in the basement. As she entered another bedroom, the temperature plummeted, and the air became thick with an oppressive energy. The room seemed to pulse with a malevolent force as shadows danced along the walls. Suddenly, a vivid apparition materialized before Sarah's eyes, a shadowy figure with an axe in hand. The ghostly visage of a man stared at her with hollow eyes, and an icy chill ran down her spine. Frozen in fear, Sarah could hardly breathe as the spectral figure advanced towards her. The room echoed with the ghostly whispers of children, their faint cries echoing through the haunted halls. Desperation consumed Sarah as she tried to escape the phantom's grasp. She stumbled backward, tripping over her own feet, but the ghostly figure pursued her relentlessly. The air became suffocating, and the walls seemed to close in around her. In a moment of sheer terror, Sarah felt an unseen force enveloping her, as if the very essence of the house itself resisted her presence. Meanwhile, Mark emerged from the basement, disoriented and shaken. The darkness had left him with a profound sense of dread, and he rushed to find the others. The once skeptical man now sought refuge in the company of his friends, hoping to make sense of the inexplicable events that unfolded in the bowels of the Villisca Axe Murder House. As Sarah struggled against the spectral entity, her friends rushed to her aid, drawn by her desperate cries. The ghostly figure dissipated into the shadows, leaving the room in an eerie silence. Breathing heavily, Sarah recounted the chilling encounter to her companions, who exchanged uneasy glances in the dim light. Determined to unravel the mysteries of the Villisca Axe Murder House, the group regrouped in the living room. The atmosphere weighed heavily on their shoulders as they shared their individual encounters with the supernatural. The once skeptical Mark now clung to the belief that there was something truly malevolent within the house. With the night wearing on, the group decided to conduct a seance in hopes of communicating with the spirits lingering in the shadows. They gathered in a circle, holding hands as a medium led them through the ritual. The room grew colder, and the air crackled with an otherworldly energy. Whispers filled the room as the spirits seemed to awaken, their presence manifesting in the flickering candlelight. Questions were directed to the unseen entities, and the medium spoke in hushed tones, translating the ethereal responses. The spirits conveyed a sense of anguish and despair, trapped in a limbo between the realms of the living and the dead. As the seance reached its climax, the temperature in the room plummeted, and a sudden gust of wind extinguished the candles, plunging the group into complete darkness. In the pitch-black void, the spirits made their presence known. The room echoed with the anguished cries of the murdered children, and a ghostly figure materialized before the group. The same malevolent entity that had pursued Sarah now stood before them, its hollow eyes piercing the darkness. The group felt an overwhelming sense of dread as the spirit spoke through the medium. It revealed the untold story of the fateful night in 1912, recounting the gruesome details of the axe murders. The unknown perpetrator, driven by an unseen force, had brutally ended the lives of the innocent family, leaving behind a lingering darkness that clung to the very walls of the house. As the spirit spoke, the room seemed to warp and twist, transporting the group back in time to that harrowing night. They witnessed the tragedy unfold before their eyes, the family sleeping peacefully as the malevolent presence crept through the shadows, the haunting whispers that preceded the unspeakable act, and the brutal murders that stained the house with a malevolent energy. The seance reached its climax as the group experienced the residual pain and suffering that lingered within the walls. The spirits, unable to find peace, yearned for redemption and release from the eternal torment that bound them to the Villisca Axe Murder House. In the blink of an eye, the group found themselves back in the present, the room bathed in an eerie silence. The medium, drained from the encounter, collapsed to the floor, breathing heavily. The once skeptical Mark now bore the weight of the supernatural truth, his eyes haunted by the horrors he had witnessed. Determined to bring closure to the tormented spirits, the group decided to investigate further. Armed with newfound knowledge, they delved into the history of the Villisca Axe Murder House, uncovering long-buried secrets and forgotten truths. Their journey led them to dusty archives and faded photographs, each revelation bringing them closer to the heart of the mystery. As they explored hidden passages and secret chambers within the house, the spirits grew more restless. Paranormal phenomena intensified, and the malevolent force that had plagued the group manifested with increasing frequency. Doors slammed shut, footsteps echoed through the halls, and ghostly apparitions appeared at every turn. In their pursuit of the truth, the group uncovered a hidden room in the attic, a place untouched by time, where the malevolent force was at its strongest. The air hung heavy with the weight of sorrow as the group entered the forgotten chamber, guided by an unseen hand. In the dim light, they discovered a collection of old belongings, children's toys, family photographs, and remnants of a life lost to the horrors of that fateful night. As they sifted through the artifacts, the room seemed to pulse with a spectral energy. The spirits, desperate to communicate, whispered their final plea for redemption. The group, now bound by a shared purpose, conducted a ritual to release the trapped souls from the shackles of the past. The air crackled with supernatural energy as they chanted ancient incantations, invoking a higher power to cleanse the house of its malevolent presence. In a blinding flash of light, the spirits were freed from their earthly chains. The oppressive darkness that had plagued the Villisca Axe Murder House for over a century dissipated, replaced by a newfound calm. The group, exhausted and haunted by the journey, emerged from the attic into the light of day. As they stepped outside, the once menacing facade of the house now bore a somber tranquility. The town of Villisca, no longer burdened by the malevolent force that had plagued it for generations, could finally begin to heal. The group, forever changed by their encounter with the supernatural, left the small town with a sense of closure and a newfound respect for the thin veil between the living and the dead. Yet, as they drove away from the Villisca Axe Murder House, a faint whisper lingered in the air, a reminder that some mysteries are better left buried in the shadows, and that the line between the living and the dead is a fragile thread that can be easily unraveled by those who dare to tread into the realm of the unknown.